Heyo, welcome everyone to Today in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host, and here on In the Scene, we dive into what's happening in the arcade space, from new indie developers, arcade owners, and operators, and just news in the space in general. I am excited about this arcade. I've been talking to Rob for a little while here about Lowry Parcade in Tampa. He was featured on Token Taverns. I spoke with Bob a few months ago, and it was really cool to watch the journey of the arcade, but I don't think we got too much focus on how the arcade actually came to be. So we're going to dive into it. They've got a great selection of great games, solid maintenance, and a really good retro aesthetic. Tons of art, painting, super unique stuff there. Let's bring in Rob and talk to him about the arcade. How you doing, Rob?
Hey, what's up, yo, man? How you doing, Joe?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm glad to have you on here. I remember you standing out quite a bit in the arcade documentary Token Taverns, just because you had such a retro looking space. Like everything was very intentional. The aesthetic is very intentional. The arcade games looked like they were in great shape. I'm curious to know, who is Rob? Just tell us about yourself and kind of why you got into arcades.
Sure. I kind of grew up in the arcade a bit, like Aladdin's Castle. That was like my go-to. My dad would take me there on like Saturdays, so we'd spend a lot of Saturdays back in the mid late '80s playing, all the games that were out. And I remember Street Fighter coming out and kind of getting blown away and trying to like elbow for room with the bigger kids to, get my ass kicked on that game. But I grew up in the arcades, and that's kind of where I got nostalgia for it. And the going from there, as I got older, I started collecting and repairing them, and had kind of did it as a hobby. And then after collecting, it wasn't long before I had heard of the concept of an arcade bar, and I was in the craft beer scene in Tampa here a little bit, um, as like mostly just a drinker and enjoying getting and turned on some of the craft that they have here because it's a really good scene. And so between those two, I'd heard the concept and thought, oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe I could, do something like that. So started collecting more and more, and then started bartending. I had a tech job, and I did that on the weekends for a little while, and it became too much. It was crazy. So I quit my tech job and then bartended full time and made a lot of connections, like learned the people, and that's kind of how I got into it. And then found the space, and it took forever to find a space, but finally was able to do that. And had a partner that I bought him out in 2019, but my ex partner, he had the location, and he didn't really have a concept yet. He had thought about doing an arcade bar, but wasn't sure. And so I kind of sold him on it, and we partnered up, and I've been pretty much the main, like 95% of running it since then, until COVID. And that kind of changed everything.
I mean, obviously that's all covered in the documentary, like the
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
journey, which was really cool to see, like from the arcade owner's side. You always see so much of like what it's like to go to the arcade, but not so much of what it's like to run the arcade. Now, before we jump in really quick, we've got the new t-shirts for Galactic Battleground and Indie Arcade Wave, as well as our four-player tabletop and Konami for Galactic Battleground. I'll throw all those up on the screen and the link down in the description, and we're going to jump into this episode. So let's talk about curating the games. Obviously, you were a collector, you were repairing them, you're already working on them. You were probably buying them for yourself in the beginning. And then
Mhm.
once you got into the arcade, you might have looked a little different direction. What was your plan with curating games for Lowry Parcade, and why do you have the games that you have?
At first, it was kind of what I had. I mean, because I when I was collecting them, even I had like shoestring budget, and I think the documentary goes into it some too, but like I kind of had what I had when I opened, and just about all the machines I owned were put into here, and they were at my house, so uh, like it was nice to get my house back a bit, but besides that, the as the years kind of went on with collecting, and I got 80s and 90s. I guess like when I first collected, I tried to get classic stuff, just the ones that you remember from the arcade that stand out, and ones that people like to play, um, the notable ones, and I mean people like everybody. men, women, kids. Like try to get something to appeal to everybody. And then, but I didn't have much options because it was just what I could get at the time before opening. And now, as the kind of years have gone on, I've been fortunate enough to kind of add to it. Where what I think about now, I got into pinball a lot more as I owned the place. Like I was already kind of getting into it, and then as the years went on with this place, I got more and more into enjoying pinball, and so I tried to get ones that I thought everyone would enjoy after learning more about it. And now I try to cater to as many people as possible. I try to think of the ones that either something that's nostalgic from 80s and 90s, or games that I don't know that but people really liked, things that like moms and dads can play with their kids, as an example of saying, hey, this is something I played when I was your age, and getting able to like pass it on to the next generation. So those are things I typically keep in mind when I'm trying to bring games in here and cater them to the crowd.
Yeah, I love the idea of like passing it on to the next generation and reliving that nostalgia, but also like creating a memory with your child. And the pinball thing too. Like I wasn't really into pinball much until I started going to all these conventions with Galactic Battleground, and I love pinball now. I'm not very good at it
Mhm.
yet, but it's gotten to be a lot more fun because I get to see, like, especially going to Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee, like Stern's always there, Marco's always there, Spooky's always there, so I get to play the newest pins for free, which
Nice.
is easier when I'm not like draining a ball every 5 seconds. So um,
Yeah.
that makes it a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a comfort, even if it's small comfort. It's a
right.
comfort where it's like, hey, I'm here and I get to play for free, so I can just learn the game a bit.
I can just play Godzilla back to back to back to back to back to back.
Right.
So, as an arcade owner, obviously you spend a lot of time in the arcade. Where are you spending most of your time? Are you spending most of it like talking to guests behind the bar, repairing machines? What are you doing primarily?
Well, I'd say like I have an awesome staff. Like my staff kills it, and my general manager Ross, he actually is taking more and more off my plate. So I'm more in a leadership role, and finally have gotten a bit of my time back because anybody will tell you with owning a small business and running it for the first several years, that's pretty much your life. And and then COVID also kind of took things over again in the documentary. You see that. Um, so now that we're through that and I have a general manager, I'm able to get more of my time back. So where my time is now is more in the kind of trying to do long-term planning, not so much the day to day. It's more leadership role. I'm good looking at new games, and then events. I've done a lot of event management lately, and thankfully, like my staff, they're able to handle that. Like Ross does the day to day. He interacts with customers, make sure everything's okay. He handles a lot for me right now, which is excellent. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm spending that. When I am here, it's interaction. Meeting my community, like, hanging out with them. We have a great group of people here, like regulars, customers, the community, and I guess the Seminole Heights, this Tampa area is one of the best. So grateful for them as well. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where I spend my time now. If I'm on the other side of the bar, I'll probably be playing a pinball machine, um, or Street Fighter. Although I haven't played much in the new one yet. Really, I say that I probably shouldn't. So I'm probably third strike over the newest one just because I haven't played it much. I get destroyed.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's good that you can get some of your time back, start to enjoy the arcade, play the games, get to know the people that are coming in. Because I mean, the people that are coming in are your business. Like building that relationship is the most important part to keep the business alive.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Um,
great. Yeah, and like the trying to reach out to and be involved more with them to figure out what events they like. We're constantly trying to do that too. So we've been trying new things to get people in the door and also connect with them more.
yeah, I saw you guys had a whole bunch of events on your calendar. You guys do like console nights, you do like fighting game nights, you have DJs in there. You have a lot of stuff going on in the arcade. So there's always something to do, which is really cool. You said you're looking at new games to bring into the arcade. I guess that leads me
Mhm.
right to my next question is what indie games have caught your eye, and what do you think of the indie arcade scene in general?
So yeah, indie games. I was actually noticing your background, and I saw like Killer Queen. That's a super fun game, and maybe one day we'll bring it in. I, there's not so much. I don't think there's much community here for it, but that's an opportunity maybe to build it. Other than that, our most recent game that we're bringing in right now. We're looking at starting to get rhythm games in here. So I'm looking at bringing in one of those. Um, what is as far as other indie games go? Throwback. We played that. They were out at Free Play too. I didn't get a chance to play it out there, but that was that's a really fun one as well. Um, but the indie games is probably an opportunity where we could look at those as well, because they local and regional developers, like, they put a ton of their time and passion into it, and like, I haven't actually brought in too many. I haven't really spent the time to pull those in, because budget's been kind of a concern too. So are there any that you'd actually recommend?
Yeah, I mean, for your location, obviously, like Galactic Battleground is what we made. We just have our new cabinet. It's
Yeah.
doing really well at all our test sites. I think Deathball could do great. It has a great community at Glitch Bar as well as Keg and Coin in Jacksonville, so you're kind of like in that
What's
area too.
Death Ball? I haven't seen that one yet.
Wizard soccer, basically. Easiest
Cool.
way to describe it. You got two wizards. You're jumping up back and forth, and you try to hit the ball into the other's goal. But you've got unlimited jumps. You've got a bubble that you can leave in a place, and if the ball hits it, it bounces the other direction. There's a bunch in it. We can talk about indie games all afterwards too.
Um, it sounds a bit like Warlords. If you've ever played that,
A,
sounds a little
li-
similar.
a little bit, yeah. It's more like Killer Queen meets Rocket League, kind of.
Oh, cool.
Is like how
Okay.
Tony describes his inspiration for it.
Yeah.
Switch and shoot obviously is an incredible game. Super easy,
Hmm.
one button, very small footprint, so that could work too. There's tons of stuff that would work well in your bar, I think, because you have a very wide demographic of people coming in, and the games fit pretty much everybody. Honestly, like a
Hmm.
lot of these games are developed for families or for date night or stuff like that. So they work great in an arcade bar.
What would be the best one for date night then?
I mean, obviously, I'm biased. I think Galactic Battleground is just so easy for anybody to step up to and play.
Okay.
Nidhogg is great too. I mean,
Don't
Nidhogg is
hate
such a
me
fun
because
game.
I haven't played Galactic Battleground yet.
Well, you just got to drive up to Fort Lauderdale. I mean,
Oh, that's it.
the
Yeah.
the best way for you to check these out, honestly. I mean, I guess I don't know exactly how far you are from Fort Lauderdale, but the closest way to get there, like the easiest way to try these indies, Dwight has
Mhm.
pretty much all of them.
Okay.
So you would actually be able to stand up next to a cabinet and play Deathball, Switch and Shoot, Nidhogg, Killer Queen, Highlight Heroes, Armed and Gelatinous. Like they're all in there. So you'd be able to give them all a go before buying anything. Not a lot of arcade owners have the opportunity to try all these indies because they're spread out throughout the country.
Yeah. Um, I have to make a trip down there because, like, last time I think I met Dwight. What was it? Maybe at an expo. I think it was a show. We went to a brewery, hung out. Super, like, cool, like, super cool meeting guy. It was nice to hang out and like, get to know, just again, like in the documentary, and being able to, like, get to know some of the other owners. Um, but it is kind of tough for me to make it to Fort Lauderdale, so I'll have to be able to set aside a trip, make like a weekend of it,
Right.
and go check them out.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Let me know when you go. We can talk more about indies afterwards too, so that you have kind of an idea of what to be looking for.
Awesome. Yeah.
Um, So I'm curious about your favorite part about owning an arcade. Obviously, like you love the games, you love collecting, you love repairing them and stuff. Like, what is your favorite thing about owning the arcade?
Uh, it's changed over the years. Now I would say the people around it, staff, having like that kind of family. We I've met a ton of friends in this community from doing this, and they've all been like really supportive. So, in both good times and bad, and like just like in COVID, um, we got more and more of that like support, and it was like very difficult personally, and both for all of us, for so many people to face that, and it was nice to have that kind of support net with it. So yeah, like that's a huge part for me is the group around me, like the community around us, around Parkade, and it's kind of become its own thing. Like this place is, uh, it's become its own thing where people like all the staff and the community itself, the group, they all are able to make it its own place where um, like I'm able to step back and see that and appreciate it. And yeah, I'm grateful for just that right now is seeing it become its own thing, and the people involved with it and getting to know them more, the friends I've made through it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like having Ross, like he knows his beer, so like I definitely get to have a pretty sweet deal when it comes to, if I'm having a few pints.
Yeah, I noticed you guys have a pretty good tap list. You got lots of stuff in there. You got lots of games. The community obviously is huge, as we saw in the documentary. Like, you guys started doing rentals just to kind of float through that time.
Yeah.
You're still doing rentals from what I see on the website too. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, sorry, we stopped that.
Okay.
Like we weren't really getting any rentals, so I don't know if it's just because the options were limited. Like after we reopened and got through it, I put rentals back on just because things have been slow. Like there have been times when this past year things slowed down a bit, probably like a mix of economy and other things, because I think everyone's been feeling the pinch a bit. So I put rentals back up just to see what would happen, and I think we did one over the course of a month. It's like, okay, this isn't really worth it, but I wasn't able to provide too many options because most of the games are here,
Right.
So
you don't want to pull it off the floor if you don't have
yeah,
to.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. But that the rental stuff definitely helped during that time, and it was kind of an adventure to take these games all over Tampa and just set them up for a little bit of time. But that kind of saved our ass during COVID too.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear. I think watching the documentary and seeing your side of the story, it was clear how big the community was and how involved your arcade was with the community, and the rentals and everything. So let's talk about what it was like to be part of Token Taverns. Like you went from running this arcade and everything, and then Bob comes up, approaches you, says, "Hey, I want to document your journey and follow you around for, I mean, what was it, like two and
Yeah,
a half years?
it
What
was
was
a
it
long
like
time.
having that 2.5 years actually documented?"
Really, like at first, it started at it was right before COVID. Well, not right before COVID, or maybe it was like right before COVID. I'm trying to think if it was 20. I think it was 2020. We were at Beer Week at one of the fests there, and I was introduced to him. And he was talking about doing this documentary a bit. I was like, sure, yeah, I'll be a part of it, having no idea at all at the time the what it would take to get there and what he was actually like trying to do. I was just okay, well, and he was a friend of a friend, a close friend of mine. So I was like, sure, let's get into it. And that later that week, we had a big event that we were doing. It was the Battle Royale. So we bring breweries here, like brewery owners and reps, and they all like play games against each other and drink against each other. It's a fun time. And he was here, and he had these like he had shoulder mounted cameras and was going around and trying to film everything. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, shit, I didn't realize he's going to be this deep into it and like taking the cameras around and being in everyone's face and stuff. So then once you know it, after that, COVID happened. So that drastically changed I think his story. But as time has gone on, and I've gotten to know Bob and Margie a lot better, and see his passion, like how much he loves it, and it's been like a real project of love for him. Yeah, it's been a fun trip. I didn't know what to expect at first, and then seeing the final product, like going through all that and seeing where it ended up, was pretty wild. actually. Is I again, I had no idea what it was going to be when he first started talking to me about it. Then seeing things unfold, him capturing what happened with COVID and being able to tell a little bit of our story and like all like kind of arcade bar owners and bar owners in general, hospitality, what we all were dealing with at that time. Um, that was very timely, and I don't think I don't think he expected it at all for it to take that. I think he was just going along with it, and as we were kind of fortunate to be able to have him to capture those things and be able to during everything was progressing and being able to just be able to seize those moments and kind of capture them and replay them. Yeah, it turned out great, and I was grateful to be a part of it, and I thought it was super cool. Although at first I wasn't sure because I didn't know what the outcome would be, and it was getting to know him, and then as you know, as I got to know him and Margie, see how passionate they were about it, it was really cool.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I think that's really cool that you just like dove in. You're just like, sure, why not? I don't even know what it's gonna be, but let's do it. And it was really really cool. I think it was incredibly unique that he was able to show that side of what happened, like
Mm-hmm.
how hard it hit business owners and how hard it hit the arcade space, and really give a voice to people that otherwise would have been voiceless, really in that position.
Right.
Um, so it's really cool that you did that, and I appreciate it really because I really enjoyed it. I bought it twice on two different platforms, and I'm still watching it.
The
I'm
VHS copies are awesome. Like all
oh
that.
yeah,
It's so cool that he did that.
he's
Yeah.
doing all the retro stuff with the
Yeah.
clamshells and everything, which is super cool. The last thing I want to ask you is advice for arcade owners, like people
Mhm.
that are interested in opening an arcade that have a collection or are starting to collect whatever. What advice would you give them to get off the ground and kind of avoid some of those initial hurdles?
I mean, like for our arcade bar owners, if you're looking to do it, I'd say get into the industry. You know, if you collector, you're like, yeah, I got machines, but I'm curious as to what I want to do with them, and I want to open an arcade bar. Well, go, get into the industry, like bartend, get a job in the industry, get to know people, and you'll see whether or not you like it. Because it's a tough business, and although it's got a lot of great rewards, it's very difficult. So if you don't know the business, you don't know the industry. That's how businesses fail. So get to know people and get in the industry, get involved with it, work some jobs into it, so you know whether or not you like it and you want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Obviously, you gotta know what you're getting into, and if you don't love the hospitality industry, you're probably gonna have a hard time running an arcade bar. It's the
Right.
truth. So
Exactly.
sweet, Rob. That's all I had for you. I appreciate you coming on here. Just shout out social media so people can follow the journey and check out your arcade.
Okay. Yeah, our social media is Lowry Parcade and on both Instagram and Facebook. So check us out. And we got events going on all the time. I know towards December, as we get into it, we're going to be bringing a new game. I think our newest game is Waka, which is going to be rhythm style. So looking forward to bringing that and sharing that with everybody. We got a bunch of new events planned too for this and going into the new year. So check out our Insta, check out Facebook, and follow us, give us a like, all that. So, but thank you guys for taking the time and for doing this interview. I appreciate it for sure.
Of course, I appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate the time, the communication, everything. Again, thank you for joining and telling your story. For anybody that's still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a ton. The wave will continue to grow. We'll be able to show more stories like this. And don't forget to check out the new cabinets and t-shirt designs. But until next time, peace.
Later, guys. Peace.